3. The sun was dying red across the Texas plains when blood and dust met the wind. Cowboys of the Broken Arrow Ranch had just finished chasing down a band of horse thieves when one rider, Eli Carson, found her. A young Comanche girl lay hidden near the riverbank. Shivering, her ankle twisted and swollen. Her clothes were torn from the chase, her dark eyes filled with terror. When Eli dismounted, his boots crunching on the pebbles, she flinched like a wild deer cornered by wolves. "Easy, miss," he said softly, raising his hands. "Ain't gonna hurt you." She didn't believe him. Why would she? The West was cruel to her people. Cowboys and soldiers alike had taken more than just land. They'd taken souls. Eli could see the pain in her eyes. He could see she hadn't eaten in days, that she was half freezing under the gathering dusk. But when he reached for his saddlebag, she panicked and tried to crawl away. Then came those words, fragile, trembling, torn between fear and dignity. "Please, don't take my clothes." Eli froze. He felt something inside him twist, a shame deeper than he'd ever known. She thought he was like the others, that he was about to strip her, degrade her, claim her like spoils of war. He dropped his hat, his rifle, even the knife at his belt, and backed away a few steps. "I ain't that kind of man," he said quietly. "You're hurt. That's all I see." She didn't answer. Her breathing was quick, her hands clutching the torn buckskin shirt to her chest. Eli took off his duster coat, heavy with dust and sweat, and laid it down beside her without another word. Then he turned and sat with his back to her, staring at the red sky fading to purple. Minutes passed. Then softly he heard movement. She pulled his coat over herself. That night, he built a small fire, cooked beans, and left half for her. He didn't ask her name, didn't touch her, didn't even look at her again until dawn. When the first light came, he found her asleep, wrapped in his coat, her face peaceful for the first time. And when she woke, she finally spoke. "My name is Noya," she whispered. "Eli," he replied, tipping his hat. "You're safe now." But safety was a rare thing in the Wild West. When Eli rode her back toward the ranch, he knew what the men would say. Cowboys didn't take in Comanche girls. They'd call her a thief, a spy, maybe even a witch. And if the marshal saw her, she'd be dragged back to the reservation, or worse. Still, he couldn't leave her, not after what she'd been through. At Broken Arrow Ranch, the men stared. "Eli," one of them said, "you gone loco? That's a Comanche." "She's a person," Eli said sharply. "She needs help." The foreman, old Jed Monroe, spat his tobacco and looked the girl up and down. "If the army finds out, they'll hang us for harboring her." "You sure about this, son?" Eli's jaw tightened. "Let 'em hang me." So Noya stayed. For days she spoke little, but she worked, mending clothes, cleaning tack, helping with the 2-3 horses. Slowly she began to laugh again. Slowly, Eli began to heal too, though he didn't realize he'd been broken until he met her. He'd lost his family in an Indian raid years back. His bitterness had burned like wildfire since then. He'd told himself all Comanche were killers. But now, every time Noya smiled, every time she thanked him softly in her broken English, that hatred withered. Until one night the past returned. A group of riders came under the moonlight, soldiers from Fort Mason. They were looking for a runaway, savage girl. Eli felt his heart pound as they dismounted. The lieutenant's eyes swept the yard, sharp and cold. "She's here, ain't she?" the man said. "One of our scouts saw her near your trail." Eli didn't answer. The lieutenant nodded to his men. "Search every barn, and if she resists, shoot her." Before Eli could move, Noya stepped out from the shadows. Her chin lifted high, her eyes steady. "Don't hurt them," she said quietly. "I'll go." Eli grabbed her arm. "No, you can't." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time he saw not fear, but strength. "You gave me back my dignity," she whispered. "Don't lose yours trying to keep me." But Eli couldn't let her go, not to a cage, not to men who'd break her spirit. He turned to the soldiers, hand hovering near his revolver. "You ain't taking her anywhere." The lieutenant's smirk faded. "You're defending an Indian, Carson?" Eli's voice cracked like thunder. "I'm defending a human being." The standoff hung in the air. Then in a flash, one soldier raised his rifle. A shot rang out. Eli fired back before he even thought. Chaos erupted, horses rearing, men shouting. When the smoke cleared, 2 soldiers were down, and Eli stood trembling, the barrel of his gun still smoking. Noya fell to her knees beside him, tears streaking her cheeks. "They'll hang you," she whispered. He looked at her, eyes heavy with grief. "Maybe, but I won't stand by while they destroy another soul." By dawn, the soldiers were gone, taking their wounded with them. Eli knew he couldn't stay. He saddled 2 horses, one for him, one for Noya. They rode until the world became open and wild again. The kind of land no law could reach. There, among the cottonwoods by the river, they stopped. Noya knelt beside the water, her reflection calm. "You lost everything once," she said softly. "Now you've lost again." Eli smiled faintly. "Maybe I finally found something worth losing for." She touched his hand. "Then maybe it wasn't loss at all." Years later, travelers along the Brazos River would tell a story about a white cowboy who disappeared with a Comanche woman and built a small cabin deep in the valley. They said he learned her language, married her in the old way, and raised horses that ran freer than the wind. And sometimes, when the wind was just right, folks swore they could still hear her laughter in the cottonwoods and the low voice of a cowboy saying, "You're safe." Moral: in a land divided by hatred, compassion was the bravest act of all.